The NFL Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Shady Rays. Shady Rays is having their best deal of the year. Go to shadyrays.com and use the promo code SGPN for 50% off. 2+ pairs for polarized sunglasses. We're also brought to you by SGPN's Draft Week. All week long, SGPN has you covered with draft props, mock drafts, and our live NFL Draft Watch Party. So make sure you smash that subscribe button at youtube.com/sportsgamblingpodcast. And welcome everybody back to the NFL Gambling Podcast, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It is Tuesday, April the 25th, draft week. Here we are, about 48 hours from the draft where the Carolina Panthers will be on the draft. And I am Moneyline Mac, and I'm joined by my co-host every week, same guy, and he is smiling ear to ear because a certain quarterback in Green Bay is on the move. Mr. Chicago Bears himself, JMark Football, Mr. Old-Fashioned Football. What is going on, JMark?
Yes, it is a beautiful day that the Bears no longer have to play Aaron Rodgers twice a year. I'm so happy about it.
Yeah,
Jordan Love does not scare me.
Yeah, no, he doesn't scare me either. I mean, obviously that is the headline, and finally he does get moved. We were joking before the show. We're like, is Aaron Rodgers really going to be back once again in Green Bay after all these years? But instead he elects to follow the previous guy that gave you nightmares for all those years in Brett Favre. You know, it's funny. They had the comparisons up on TV today. Basically, they both had, I think one had an 11-10 record in the postseason. The other one had 12-10. Rodgers had 4 MVPs, Favre 3. They both won 1 MVP. Kind of scary how similar their careers went in Green Bay, although the different styles. One's from Cali, the other one's from Mississippi. So, yeah, I know that you are glad that finally the Rodgers and Favre era is over. I don't think Jordan Love's one of those guys.
Yeah, no, I don't either. I don't think you'll find Favre going on any darkness retreats either. I mean, they are very different guys, but I am interested to see if Rodgers has a dick pic scandal like Favre did after he went to the Jets. That's the next step in following the line of Favre, right?
And the other part is when Kirk Cousins, they get tired of Kirk Cousins in Minnesota, does Aaron Rodgers finish his career in the dome for the Minnesota Vikings in that ugly purple uniform?
I hope so.
Back
I hope
in
it's
your
just
uniform.
full circle.
So let me ask you this. Did you hate Brett Favre as a Bears fan when he was on the Vikings?
No. That people always tell me, like, you only hate Rodgers because he's a Packer. I respected Favre. Favre was a great player. I know Rodgers is too, but it's just Rodgers' ego and personality that I can't stand. It has nothing to do with the fact that he's a Packer and beats us all the time. Favre beat us all the time. It's just a matter that I don't like his personality. That's all there is to it, I guess.
Yeah, he's definitely he definitely beats to his own drum. I think that's a safe way of saying it with Aaron Rodgers. But this is not the NFC North. This is actually the AFC North, and we'll touch on this. By the way, you're going to have to tweak up your mock draft with it being 48 hours away because obviously New York and Green Bay flip picks at 13 and 15. So now the Jets are picking behind the New England Patriots, and the Packers slide up to 13. Interested to see them both flip 2 spots. What do you think of that?
Yeah, that, I didn't put much value in that, just the 2 spots. It was the second rounder and then the potential first rounder next year that kind of opened my eyes like, whoa, because, I mean, Rodgers is older. He's not had great seasons where he's gotten to the Super Bowl for a while now. So, I mean, it was interesting. But obviously he is a step up from Zach Wilson. So, I mean, I get why the Jets wanted to do it. Shout out to Shark Incognito. We have not heard from him for a while. Main reason to hate Favre is because of those jean shorts he wore on draft day. Yeah, I don't think you'll find Rodgers in jean shorts.
No, I don't think that's what Aaron Rodgers is going. I mean, sorry, Brett Favre is going to do. That's what. That's Aaron. Sorry, I'm getting them confused now because they're on the same path. I don't remember if I'm saying Rodgers or Favre, but yeah, that's enough. Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre. We'll talk about them, I'm sure, plenty in June, July, August when we preview the AFC East, which actually is the lone episode that will be following us, led by Scott, and I'm not sure who else will be on that pod, but yeah, go check out the AFC East. because all of a sudden that division is completely, loaded. New England's by far the last place team behind the Jets, Dolphins, and the Bills aren't going anywhere with that loaded roster.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, no, this is the AFC North, and this is a good division in itself. And I think we both agree, both having teams in divisions where rivalries, tradition is such a big thing. And this division, they hate each other as much as anybody. You got Cincinnati, Cleveland, and then of course the two teams that have had the best history recently with Baltimore and Pittsburgh. But it's the Cincinnati Bengals that are coming off back-to-back division titles. Back-to-back AFC Championships. 2 years ago, the Bengals got all the way to the Super Bowl. This is a really good division once again, top to bottom. Any initial thoughts before we dive into some of the draft needs and what these four teams have done in the offseason?
Yeah, so it's interesting that you hear like all the drama that's going on in this, right? Because Joe Mixon, maybe he won't be around as the lead back for the Bengals. Lamar Jackson wants a new contract, turning down reportedly $200 million guaranteed. Nuts. Yeah, insane to a guy like me. It's like, I'll take that. I can't run nor throw like Lamar, but I'll take the money. And so just the drama surrounding that. How are those guys going to perform if they do end up? Obviously Lamar's going to be the starter, I would think. If Joe Mixon ends up being the starter with all the controversy there of if he's on his way out, how does he perform? How does Lamar perform with still wanting that contract and not getting it? It's going to be interesting to watch. And then, of course, Deshaun Watson, always in the headlines for the wrong reasons. How is he going to do? And then I'm hearing Allen Robinson to the Steelers. I guess they're trying to run back the Mitch Trubisky to Allen Robinson connection, even though Pickett's most likely their starter again.
You always got to throw in a Mitch Trubisky in there just because of the Bears.
That's right.
For those that don't know, JMark is a big Mitch Trubisky guy. So
absolutely.
But yeah, no, this I think the safe thing to say is this division does not lack storylines with these four franchises and how much they hate each other. Obviously, the quarterback situations in Cleveland and Baltimore, and the team that's been the most steady was the team that's kind of been such a laughing stock for years is the Cincinnati Bengals because they got the baddest dude in the division in Joe Burrow. You're muted.
On mute. Yeah, Smoking Joe. I like Joe Burrow. I like his swagger. And just he's kind of an old school quarterback, right? He's not running around a lot. He just slings it. And yeah, I definitely like him. I think he's going to be around doing good things for the Bengals for years.
Yeah, no, it sounds weird to say that the Bengals are the most steady franchise in that division, but it shows what happens when you get the quarterback. And we'll find out who gets a quarterback, their franchise quarterback, here on Thursday. But before we do that, we got to get paid, and we are brought to you by the NFL Gambling Podcast, Shady Rays. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered from the sun to the slopes with premium polarized shades, customizable snow goggles, and much more. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company that offers a world-class product that's just as good, expensive pair we've worn. Durable frames and extremely clear optics for outdoor adventures no matter where you are. That's not all. Shady Rays offers the most insane protection of eyewear where every pair of sunglasses is backed and lost by a broken replacement. If you lose or break a pair, even in one day, they told us they will send you a new pair. They won't even ask questions. Wear your Shady Rays with confidence because they know that we have your back after you purchase it. With Shady Rays, you can look good and feel good. To date, they have donated over 20 million meals to fight hunger for Feeding America. If you don't love them, exchange a new pair and return it for free within 30 days. There's no risk when you shop at Shady Rays. Their team always has your back. Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving away their best deal of the year. Go to shadyrays.com and use the promo code SGPN for 50% off 2+ pairs of polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself. The shades rated 5 stars by over 200,000 people. All right, JMark, we are back on the NFL Gambling Podcast. And for those that have listened to the other divisional previews, go check them out. This is the second to last one. We'll conclude with the AFC East. And you know what? We actually mapped this out pretty strategically because we said we're going to leave the AFC East in case Aaron Rodgers gets traded to the Jets. Of course, we knew what we were talking about. So, yeah, that's why the AFC East is last. But we're in the AFC North, and we'll lead it off with the team that finished last place in the division. That's going to be the Cleveland Browns. Interesting team. Year number 3 of Kevin Stefanski. They kind of, I don't know. They were a weird team last year. Jacoby Brissett starts. He had him in the hunt. I mean, they're hovering around 500, and then around week 11, Deshaun Watson comes back for the Houston Texans game, and he struggled. I mean, there's no other way to put it. In the Cleveland Browns struggle while he was playing. The only really bright spot was their game in Washington, of course, when they knocked them out of the playoffs. That was probably Deshaun's best half of football. What are your thoughts on the Cleveland Browns, and can they turn this thing around from 7-10 with Deshaun Watson in year number 2?
We were talking a little bit pre-show. I think Deshaun's lost it. I think between the drama and not playing, seems like he's taken a step back. I don't know if he gets that back. Obviously, they have a good run game with Nick Chubb. And they got some receivers that do well, with Amari Cooper, Donovan Peoples-Jones. I think they need more receiver help. And the fact that they don't pick until the 3rd round hurts them. That hurts, especially on a team that I feel like they do have some needs. They have some needs in order to become relevant again. This is just a tough division. When you're going against the Bengals, the Ravens, the Steelers, it's a tough division. So I don't have a lot of hope or confidence in the Browns.
Intriguing team because, I mean, they got Nick Chubb, obviously. Running the football is a strength of this team. It's kind of been their bread and butter, especially under Kevin Stefanski. Amari Cooper on the outside, Peoples-Jones as well. Defense led by Myles Garrett. This team does not lack talent, but you mentioned it. They've given up so many draft picks, draft capital to acquire these guys and build up this offensive line to be able to run the ball with Chubb and Hunt, and then obviously bringing over Watson in that trade. Not picking 96 for a team that was 7-10 is not exactly the best formula, in my opinion.
Yeah, 100% agreed. I mean, you need young guys in there to build around, and you don't get many when you don't pick until the late 3rd round.
Yeah, no doubt. And looking ahead, everybody go check out JMark's draft on the NFL Gambling Podcast, the Sports Gambling Podcast under the NFL Gambling Podcast tab. You got the Browns going defense in this draft because obviously we kind of touch on it. They have talent offensively, a couple holes in the secondary. That's the way that you see it going Thursday night for the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, I think they have more defensive needs than offensive. I mean, like we said, they got some playmakers at wide receiver, though I think they end up grabbing one. They have Nick Chubb. I doubt they draft a quarterback because they are kind of all in on Deshaun Watson. Yeah. So, yeah, I definitely think that defensive line, whether it's the interior or exterior of the defensive line, linebacker, they need some help. And then they could use some safety or cornerback help. So I think they focus most of their draft on the defense.
I agree with you because their defense was inconsistent throughout the year. Ironically, they are not the last team in the odds to win the AFC North next year. They are sitting at plus 360 to win the AFC North headed into the draft. It's just from the way you're sounding, it doesn't sound like you're going to take a stab at these Cleveland Browns.
Not at all. How about you?
I could see them having some positive regression. I think that they're going to fly a little bit under the radar coming into the year. Last year was a broken year. I mean, Jacoby Brissett did his best to keep them afloat, keep them around that 500 mark. But just with the whole Deshaun Watson not playing for a year, and he just, like you said, he looked like shit when he played for the 5-6 games that he was there. But I think he does look a little bit better. I don't think he's going to look vintage Deshaun Watson, what he was in 2018, 2019, right before COVID, when he kind of just went off the rails with his career. And, I think it's somewhere in the middle of Deshaun in his prime and then what we saw last year. I think they finished around 500. I think they have a chance to sneak in as a wild card, but I think that this division is too good for them to win, in my opinion.
Agreed.
All right, man. Well, let's move along to the next team in the AFC North, and that is the Pittsburgh Steelers, who, once again, Mike Tomlin found a way to have a winning season. They started – what did they start? They were 2-7 at one point, I believe, and it was like, oh, this is it for Tomlin. Tomlin's going to have a losing season. And what did they do? They caught lightning in a bottle down the stretch, and it seems like they found their franchise quarterback with Kenny Pickett. What are your thoughts on these Pittsburgh Steelers who had the longest shots at 5-1 in the AFC North headed into the draft?
Real quick, Sharkwin wants to know Browns over under 9 wins. What do you think?
Yeah, I was saving that for the end.
Oh, we can save it. We'll save it, Sharkwin.
We do over unders at the end. I was thinking because I also saw that and I was like, you know what, I need a minute to think
I
about
need to
this.
ponder.
So yeah, because I said around 500.
Yeah, for the Steelers, I think they're set up good in the draft. They have that 32nd pick that they got from the Bears. They have their first rounder as well. Kenny Pickett, I think, is going to be better. He wasn't bad. He wasn't great last year once he took over for Mitch. I think he's going to be better. I think they need to find a way to utilize Najee better. That last year he took a huge step back compared to his rookie year.
Yeah.
But yeah, with Deontay Johnson, George Pickens, I mean, even Pat Freiermuth, they have some offensive playmakers. They're always good at defense. They're always, and as long as Watt is on the field, TJ Watt's on the field and healthy, that defense is always going to have the opportunity of creating turnovers. He is just a beast. We've seen him when he's healthy, lead the league in sacks and forced fumbles, everything. So the Steelers, I thought they were going to be a dark horse last year. It didn't go well. I just thought they were going to start better with Mitch, obviously because of my misplaced faith in Trubisky. But it's hard seeing this team beat the Bengals, and take this division from the Bengals. But if I'm taking a dark horse, I'm taking the plus 500 on them instead of the plus 360 on the Browns. I like the Steelers better. How about you?
Yeah, and what's funny was it felt like the guys out in the desert favored the Browns all year over the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like the last game of the year, that was a do or die game for the Steelers. The Steelers were only favored by 2 when they played in Cleveland. Cleveland was laying like 4 or 5. They all power rated wise, it seemed like the Browns were always above. So I don't know. I think that there's something said for the culture under Tomlin, never having a losing season. I'm with you. I like the 5-1 if I'm going to take a long shot, because even though the Bengals have won these 2 divisions, the division has been, for the most part, within grasp headed into December for most of the years. Maybe this is a year that Cincinnati takes maybe a slight step back. I mean, I thought that we were going to see that last year coming off the Super Bowl loss, but they continue to motor on with Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins and those guys. So, but I'm with you. If I got to give that a long shot, I'm going to go Pittsburgh 5-1. JMark, come Thursday night, they're picking at 17. You got them going defense, correct?
Yeah, I have him taking the cornerback out of Penn State. That way he sticks around the same area kind of too. Pittsburgh kid, Joey Porter Jr., and his dad played for the Steelers as well. So just thought it'd be
coached.
And yeah, so I thought that would be a nice if he got there. There's a lot of talk that they might try to move up in the draft. I don't necessarily know who they would be targeting. I've heard offensive line. I've heard Jalen Carter, and a lot of talk that they might target that Bears pick at 9. Now, as much as I want the Bears to pick within the top 10, if for whatever reason we could get the Pittsburgh Steelers 17th and our 32nd back, I'd be all for it. Just because I think adding more pieces to our team is better than picking within the top 10. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they do decide to move up or what they do there. But yeah, defense, cornerback, or maybe offensive tackle. But I have them waiting on offensive tackle till that 32nd pick.
Yeah, and in free agency they bring over Patrick Peterson, the vet. I mean, we touch on it too with Pittsburgh, that when they have TJ Watt, JJ Watt is his older brother. Yeah. Watt. Yeah. They both have something in common. They can rush the passer. When Watt's healthy, that defense is a whole different unit. And screwing up that secondary, tightening up that secondary on the back end with that pass rush and that good defensive line will just make this defense even better. It seems like, though, with Pittsburgh, they always have offensive line questions headed into the year for some reason. Maybe just Big Ben erased a lot of those question marks with the way that he could just take hit after hit after hit and just continue to battle. But I thought their offensive line wasn't horrible last year. I thought that they kept Kenny Pickett for the most part upright, healthy, but they got to be able to run the ball better with Najee Harris. You talked about it. We thought that he was going to have a huge year, and he just did not live up to our expectations.
Yep, absolutely. Shark Quinn said some books have Pitt at plus 650. He also thinks Cincinnati wins the division, but there's definitely value there on Pittsburgh. I don't mind sprinkling a little bit on Pittsburgh because I trust them more than the Browns, and I might even trust them a little bit more than the Ravens, depending how this drama that happens all offseason affects them.
Well, I think that's a great point. Probably we already talked about it. Like Cleveland probably has the better roster than Pittsburgh, top to bottom. But with the baggage, the distraction, it seems like the same thing's going on in Baltimore. I'll take Tomlin and that culture over these two teams, or the two teams that we just talked about, to challenge Cincinnati in the division. So, hey,
yeah, 100%.
But before we go into Baltimore and Cincinnati to wrap this division up in the AFC North, got to get us paid one more time. And we are brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. We're brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. The NBA and NHL playoffs are here, and what better way to get down on some player prop parlays than at Underdog Fantasy? Besides the daily NHL, NBA, and MLB games, they've also got NFL best ball drafts with guaranteed $500,000 prizes. Head over to UnderdogFantasy.com and use the promo code SGPN for a 100% deposit bonus up to $100. That's UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by the NFL Draft Props Contest. Part of SGPN's Draft Week is holding a free NFL Draft Props contest exclusively for members in our Discord. It's completely free to join, and the winner gets $250 in cash and a $50 SGPN gift card. Just go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord and go to the NFL channel for the sign-up link. That's the sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord. And I might say there are some nice shirts in that SGPN merch store, including an old-fashioned football T-shirt. So go check out the old-fashioned football. But, yeah, let's move along in this slate, JMark, and we're going to go to the Baltimore Ravens, who come off 10-7, wild card, but none of that shit matters. The only thing that matters right now is who's going to be quarterback, Lamar Jackson or somebody else. What is your take on these Baltimore Ravens? And what year is Harbaugh in? Harbaugh and Tomlin have been there forever. I mean, what are they in their 16th, 17th years?
It feels like it. I'm not sure how many years for sure, but it definitely feels like it.
Yeah.
As far as the Lamar situation, I don't know. I mean, they went out and they got Odell Beckham, which apparently was one of his demands. That's one of the things that's starting to really rub me the wrong way. These quarterbacks and their demands of, I want to play with this player. But I would think as an offensive lineman that's getting paid, let's just say $5-6 million a year. My quarterback's turning down $200 million and saying he wants more or a trade. Like, that makes me want to block for him a little bit less for some reason. I think you start to kind of create some disdain there, you would think, because you're putting yourself above the team. I feel like if you're turning down that kind of cash, which was guaranteed, had injury guarantees, you're putting yourself above. So that's interesting to me.
Very, very interesting to me as well. I mean, I think, especially for a guy that depends on his offensive line as much as Lamar does with the blocking scheme, the way that they want to run the ball, impose their will on teams. I think the Lamar thing is really rubbed. John Harbaugh is saying all the right things. He's back at his quarterback. He's loyal to Lamar because took a shot on him in the draft, and they've revamped their whole offense since they took Lamar in the draft years ago. But I mean, look, we're seeing it. We saw it in Green Bay. At some point, it gets a little bit old. It's like, hey man, if he doesn't want to be here, we just got to move the hell on. Like at some point, it's like we keep bending to this guy's demands. He's going to have us hostage. Yes, Lamar is a great player, but two things can be true. Lamar is a great player. Lamar's also missed a lot of meaningful football games in the last couple of years, and he's not getting any younger and healthier anytime soon.
Yep. No, agreed. So yeah, that's something definitely to monitor. I think they start slow. I think there's just been too much drama and it kind of creates some dysfunction on the team. Something kind of interesting to think about, and a Georgia fan actually brought this up to me. We talked about it with Colby Dant on the Old Fashioned Football podcast when he was a guest. But Todd Monken Georgia's former offensive coordinator, is now the Ravens offensive coordinator. And this Georgia fan thought that they might be taking Stetson Bennett in the 5th or 6th round as some insurance to Lamar Jackson. I mean, he had Stetson Bennett looking very efficient. And it's kind of an interesting theory to think about, because Georgia was a powerhouse, and Bennett, as much as he got shit on, especially his senior year, he looked really good. So keep an eye on that, see if it happens. And if it does, the offensive coordinator might be favoring him a little bit, being like, we don't need to pay this guy $200 million. I can make it work with this other guy. But yeah, go ahead.
I was saying in your mock, they have the 22nd pick. You do have them going with the Georgia Bulldog, but on the defensive side.
Yep. Nolan Smith. I think he fits their defensive scheme very well. And so, I think that helps elevate them, have them taking some defensive pieces, but also some offensive pieces. It was hard not to keep throwing Georgia players on this team. I'm sure the offensive coordinator doesn't have that much pull, but it was fun to at least think about. I'm not trusting this team this year. Do I think they're going to be better than the Browns? Yeah. Do I think they're going to be better than the Bengals? No way. I wouldn't put future money on them, whether it was wins or the division winner, because I just don't know what we're going to get. I just don't know how much Lamar's going to do with all this drama and how that team's going to function.
Yeah, and got Lamar's games missed. He's played 12 games in each of the last couple of years. We kind of seen these guys that like to run, or that are such effective runners, I should say. They wear down physically. I mean, the NFL is a physical league, and shout out to Shark Quinn in the chat. Drafting Stetson Bennett would be a bigger mistake than my first marriage. So, hey, hopefully you find love on your next marriage, Shark Quinn. But I think too, like with you have them selected multiple Georgia players because of the offensive coordinator. Whether you coach to Georgia or Alabama, I think it's a safe bet to take Georgia or Alabama in the draft every single year.
Right, agreed.
They only play in the national championship, one of them, if not both of them. So Saban and Smart, they just have such a gold mine of talent in Athens and Tuscaloosa. That's not slowing up anytime soon. I think the Ravens could finish last in this division. I think I might be mistaken here. I think they did 2 years ago. If not, Cleveland was 7-10 and Baltimore was 8-9. I know Baltimore 2 years ago was 8-3, then lost all their games because Lamar wasn't healthy. But you mentioned it. We like to fade these teams with all these offseason distractions. We just saw with Green Bay. I mean, Green Bay, distractions with Rodgers not being available, young guys around him, no chemistry coming out of training camp, and you get off to a slow start. Next thing you know, you're 3-5, 3-6. And in the AFC, you can't get off to a start like that or you'll get buried.
Yeah, for sure.
So JMark and I think it's safe to say we are not going to take a stab plus or 3-1 on the Baltimore Ravens. I will hard pass on that. I don't see them winning the division this year. It'll be interesting though. Let's move along. Team that's won it back-to-back years, Cincinnati Bengals. Man, Bengals fans are on cloud nine. We're shitting on the Ravens. We're shitting on the Browns. We said the Steelers could be good, but we don't know. One team I think it's safe to say that they're going to be pretty good, the Cincinnati Bengals, and that's because of Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and that offense. What are your thoughts on these Bengals? Can they get back to a third straight AFC Championship? And they don't have a lot of draft capital, but you know what? They've kind of don't need it right now. They got all their pieces. They're fitting right in with Kansas City's and the Buffaloes of the league. Yeah,
that's the thing. Like, they don't need a lot. Adding anything is for improvement. It's not really because of it's not because of a need. It's just depth and improvement. This team is good. Whether they make the championship again, it's hard to say because Buffalo and Kansas City have to be in that conversation as well. But the Bengals they've been better than I expected them to be the past 2 years, and they seem to be getting better. So I definitely think it's a possibility that they end up back in that championship and maybe even the Super Bowl. Though I'm a kind of a closet Bills fan. I like the Bears, obviously, but in the AFC, if I had to pick a team, it's the Bills. So big Josh Allen fan. So I hope they can get over that hump this year and get in the Super Bowl, but I guess we'll see.
Okay, yeah, I feel like I like taking teams the year after they were hyped. Buffalo just had so much hype
They
coming
did,
into
yeah.
this year, like by far the odds-on favorite to win it. Maybe this is a good spot for Buffalo. Go check out the AFC East episode coming out here soon. But for Cincinnati, who dominated the Buffalo Bills in the playoffs, completely just punked them start to finish with multiple offensive line guys out with injuries. I was shocked. I think we did the preview on it and we're like, I just don't see how they can win in the trenches against Buffalo in the snow. But Shark Quinn, right in the chat, right on cue. Not only do the Bengals get healthy on the offensive line, they also go out and sign offensive tackle Orlando Brown Jr. So investing finally in that offensive line even more to protect Joe Burrow. This team, it's hard to pick holes at this team. This team's got a little bit of everything. Maybe they could be a little more consistent defensively, but we've said that going into the playoffs the last couple of years that we didn't really trust their defense, but their defense has really showed up in the playoffs in the crunch time.
Yeah, they really have. The only thing I can really flaw them on is the kind of the Joe Mixon drama on whether he's going to stick around. But the thing about that is this draft is so deep in running back, in my opinion. I mean, you could take a running back in the 4th or 5th and still get a guy who's going to contribute and show up. So I don't think that's a big concern. I think if they really feel like Mixon's not going to show up and give it all, they can easily find somebody who will. So whether that's not really a concern of mine as far as, gambling on the Bengals. Fantasy football wise, if I put on my fantasy football hat, yeah, it's a concern. But as far as picking their win total, thinking that they're going to be right in the mix, it's not. I think this team is solid. And I think they're, poised for another good year.
Yeah, and looking at the mock draft, they don't pick till the 3rd round, and you have them. Did Colby make you pick this pick here in the 3rd round with East Carolina running back Keaton Mitchell going to the Cincinnati Bengals?
No, he didn't, but I do have that. They pick in the 1st though.
Did I miss that? Maybe my computer's acting up. Yeah, that's why you're here.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Keep me in check. I'm fake news. Yep, there they are. They're 28. Yeah, you got to go in tight end. So Luke Musgrave from Oregon State. So
I think.
Go ahead.
I was just saying. I think with a guy like Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and even Tyler Boyd, you had another dynamic offensive playmaker like Musgrave is going to make this team even more unstoppable. Maybe it doesn't matter if they have Mixon or not when they have those 4 guys that they could throw to. So yeah, he's a good blocker too. He's decent at blocking. So I like that pick for him to kind of shore up their tight end. That's maybe one area where they could be better. They did sign Irv Smith, who I think has good potential, but getting a young tight end in there might be a big move for him.
Yeah, and they also pick in the 2nd round, so I'm not really sure why my computer was saying that they only picked 3rd. So yeah, thanks for keeping me in check. And I think going tight end would be great in giving Burrow another weapon. Pac-12 after dark with Oregon State. I caught a couple Beaver games with Musgrave. He was really good in the USC game, if I'm not mistaken. Because Oregon State was a sneaky good team out of the Pac-12 this year, and he was a big reason why.
Yep, agreed.
Do you like the Bengals plus 125 in the division?
I think getting plus money on them is a little silly.
Yeah, I don't disagree. It's kind of – I don't want to jump the gun and say we start treating them like New England back in the day and Kansas City now, but they got the quarterback that's somewhat on that level. So I think if you're going to make a play, you got to go with the best quarterback in the division by far. I'll go Joe Burrow as well. So we're both on the Bengals to make it 3 in a row in the AFC North. Let's do over-unders because the chat was asking before we
real quick. It's crazy to me that the Chiefs are minus 150 when they have, the Chargers, Broncos, Raiders. I feel like the Bengals should be just as much favorites in their division. So yeah, the fact that they're getting plus money, I'm jumping all over that.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. And looking, what is Buffalo in the East? Just compare plus 130. So I guess Buffalo and Cincinnati are kind of being treated equally, maybe because neither division has a weak team. I mean, New England and Pittsburgh are the odds-on bad teams in the division, which is crazy because those two teams have dominated the last 20 years in the AFC, compared to Vegas, who's kind of going to be in rebuild mode, getting rid of Derek Carr with Jimmy G and McDaniels. And then we just don't know about Denver with Russ, with Sean Payton. So how about the other team in the AFC? You missed this episode yesterday. Rod and I did it. Jacksonville being minus 150 to win the South.
I love it. I love it. I mean, if you think about the quarterback situation, they're the only one that really have a solidified solidified quarterback. Really interesting. If you take Buffalo, KC, Jacksonville, and the Bengals, who I feel fairly confident on.
Yeah.
And you parlay that, you get 13-1 odds. I kind of like that.
So basically repeating the 4 from last year.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. All right. So there we go. There's a 13-1 parlay in April. The only downside is you're going to have your money tied up for 8 months.
Yeah, that's all right. So, I'm doing it right now. let's go.
but it's like you said, like it's going to be like January the 10th. We'll be ready to preview some playoff games, and you're like, hey, where'd this couple $100 come from? In my
exactly.
Depending on how much you put it, they'd be like, oh yeah, that was my parlay I gave out on April the 25th. So yeah, it's all right. Let's knock out these over-unders. We'll start with the team that we talked about is in the basement. I got the Browns over under 9.5. But Shark was right, where if you want it minus 115 on both sides, it's at 9. Over under 9. I feel like 9 is 9 is the number.
Yeah, I don't think they win more than 9 games. That's for sure. So
yeah,
either this ends in a push or you go under. So I would take under, because at the worst case scenario, I guess it depends on your book, but at 9, worst case scenario, your push gets you your money back. I would try to find it at 9.5, take that and go under, because I don't see them winning more than 9 games.
The only thing that I would like if I'm Cleveland is having the last place schedule, because then you look around in the league, who else are you playing? You're playing the Houston Texans. Sorry, Moonoff. And in the West, you're playing the Denver Broncos, and then in the East, you're playing. I guess you're playing the Jets, which all of a sudden isn't a team that you really want to play. Not that they have Aaron Rodgers. So yeah, and then you get paired with an NFC team. I don't know who's paired. I'd have to do a deeper dive, and we'll have the schedule out here in a couple of weeks. But maybe the Browns. Maybe I'm with you though. 9-8. I'm not going over 9 wins with Deshaun Watson. Too much uncertainty.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, let's move along to Pittsburgh. I think we're both going to be on the same side. I'm seeing over under 8.5. I will make this quick. I will go over. Tomlin will not have a losing season once again.
Agreed. Yeah, even if we're sweating it in the very last game, he's not going to have a losing season.
Yeah, they're not going to run away with this. I mean, if they win this division, it would be at 10-7 or something. I think I could see Tomlin going 8-1 and us going under, but him still not having a losing season. But he's not going to have a losing season. So as long as they don't tie a game, we're going to go over.
Yep, agreed.
All right, Baltimore with the uncertainty of Lamar Jackson. Over under 9.5. I'll let you take this. I think we're both going to be on the same side here as well.
Yeah, I'm going under. I'm not putting any faith in this team this year.
I agree. Yeah, even if he does play, I think 8-9, 8-9, maybe 9-8. I think it's a 500 team. I just don't trust Baltimore. You also don't know if he's going to stay healthy. If he does start the year and he's quote unquote happy and amends are made, I mean, we haven't seen him finish a year since 2020.
That's exactly what I was getting ready to say. Even if he is healthy and they start winning some games, staying healthy is another thing, and he's not been able to do that.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, the finale. We got the Cincinnati Bengals. This is an interesting one. Over under 11.5. I'm looking at what the Bengals were 12-5 last year, correct?
I believe that's correct.
Or 12-4. They had the game canceled. Remember with DeMar Hamlin.
The
so
DeMar
they only
Hamlin
put
game,
So they were 12-4. Year before that, 10-7. They stay over this?
I think so. I know that game was very early on, that DeMar Hamlin game, but it looked like they already had Buffalo with their backs against the wall. So yeah, I like the over. I think this team is going to continue to be a dominant football team, and that offense, even if their defense doesn't show up every game, that offense can keep up with any other offense, in my opinion.
Man, this is a hard one for me.
Yeah,
because I could see them going under and being 11-6.
there's some non-division schedule for you: Houston, Indianapolis, Rams, Seattle,
Yeah.
Arizona, and Tennessee.
So they play the NFC West, which is relatively soft outside of San Francisco. Seattle's feisty. They play the AFC South, which is who you want to play because that division's god awful. I mean, they have like 3 teams in the top 10 in the draft. I mean, anytime that Jacksonville's minus 150 in your division, you know your division's awful.
Right.
The fact that Jacksonville and Kansas City are the same odds is it tells you everything you need to know about the AFC South.
Yeah.
Chicago would win that division. Let's go.
Chicago's going to win their own division. Careful.
Yeah. You know what? I'll go over. I'll go 12-5. Yeah. They got over 11.5 last year, even with playing one less game. I think the culture's good there. And they got Joe Burrow. As long as Burrow, they invest in the offensive line. So, yeah, I'm with you. I'll do the 3-peat. I think this is a good one because I felt like we talked about this going into the playoffs last year. Is Buffalo and Kansas City were so much higher than everybody else with the odds, and we said Cincinnati was a good value, and they were. I mean, they lost on a field goal to Kansas City for the second straight year. I see currently to win the AFC, the Cincinnati Bengals plus 450. I see, oh man, where is everybody? Baltimore Ravens are 15-1, Cleveland Browns 17-1, Pittsburgh 20-1. Obviously, Cincinnati's not a bad play at all. They're plus 450. Anybody else in the AFC?
No, I don't think so. Another bet I kind of like, though, Pittsburgh Steelers to make the playoffs, plus 135 for yes.
Yep. I like that one as well. I was just thinking that because like we talked about, like Tomlin's going to have them at 9-8, maybe 10-7 if things bounce their way. So yeah, I like plus 135. What about Baltimore to miss the playoffs?
Of course,
I'm seeing Baltimore to miss the playoffs. It's even both ways, minus 110.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I prefer to get plus money, but I don't mind putting a little. I think since it's not plus money, I wouldn't tie my money up in it. But picking no on that would be the play, I think.
How about Cleveland is not plus money to make the playoffs? They're minus 105 to make the playoffs, minus 120 to miss it.
That's crazy.
They like Watson.
I don't know
liked
why.
Them all. They liked them all last year too. So, no, it's going to be interesting. I'm with you. I can't see any of these teams winning the AFC because you got to have an elite guy to beat Mahomes and Allen and even Burrow now. I mean, it's to beat these guys. And throw Trevor Lawrence in there. Trevor Lawrence is as hot as anybody. Justin Herbert. These quarterbacks are so damn good in the AFC. Aaron Rodgers is now in the AFC as well. Who's even left in the NFC? Hurts?
Justin Fields.
Yeah. Heineke in Atlanta.
Yeah, there you go.
Sam Howell.
And Sam Howell.
Heineke Howell in the NFC Championship. Let's go. Yeah, no, it's wild. Super Bowl, if the Cincinnati Bengals can finally get over the hump, they're plus 850.
I like
that. I wish they were 10-1.
Yeah.
How about the Jets are the 6th best odds now? Rodgers.
That's crazy.
And the Green Bay Packers are 50-1. They haven't dropped them below you yet.
Rodgers has not been able to get past the NFC recently to get into the Super Bowl. How's he going to get past the Bengals, the Bills, the Chiefs? I'm not seeing it. Yeah. Just not seeing it.
Jags.
The Jags. There you go.
Let's go. That's my team. Go check out the AFC South preview. I may have given out the Jaguars to win the Super Bowl or AFC. So let's go. Trevor Lawrence and Doug Peterson. That's my team. That was our team last year at the midway point when we gave out Jacksonville to win the South 16-1. Yep. So yeah, no, we're loyal to those guys. All right. Well, that will conclude the AFC North, and that'll be our final division preview. Like I said, Scott and the guys will have the AFC East, and then we will do a version of mock drafts. So stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe and like so you have these notifications so you can check out all of JMark's work on the website with the mock drafts and all the other good work at the Old Fashioned Football. JMark, before we get out of here, tell everybody where to find you, man.
Yeah, follow me on Twitter at JMarkFootball. Follow Old Fashioned Football at Old Fashioned FB. Our contest ends in April. Win a free T-shirt and some whiskey. So make sure you check that out to see how to get entered.
Who doesn't like whiskey? I like whiskey. I'm ready
right?
to have a glass of whiskey myself right now. So yeah, go like, subscribe. Old Fashioned Football, XFL, USFL, all the football channels. Football is year round. It's a culture. So yeah, no, that's all I got at Moneyline_Mac. And JMark, you got any last words before we get up on out of here?
No, let's go Bengals.
Hey, you switch it up from the Bears. And don't forget to let it ride.